Hey everybody. So I just saw the new Disney Star Wars movie Solo, and it's as unnecessary and bad as you were probably expecting it to be. Directed by Ron Howard, this movie is so messy. I think I have to start with the director. So originally it was supposed to be directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, the duo behind movies like 21 Jump Street and the Lego Movie. And you can feel this movie kind of fighting itself. At many times it wants to be a comedy movie that the duo directors could have done, and at many times it wants to be this serious kind of more traditional action movie, and that's why you can see Disney decided to bring Ron Howard in to finish it. And the kind of what happens is it becomes such a boring, bland kind of combination of the two directors' styles. It's really hard to see. Unlike Justice League, it's kind of hard to see when one director's work starts and when one's ends. And it's just so convoluted. The bad directing certainly holds the movie back, but the script is so terrible. It's kind of ironic because Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote all of these classic Star Wars movies, and he also wrote Solo, he said he had a lot of issues with the directors because they were kind of playing loose with his script, allowing the actors to do a lot of improv, and he wanted them to follow it word for word. And it's just kind of ridiculous because if this is the movie that he wanted, if this is the movie he says he's proud of, then he did a terrible job because this movie's a mess and the story is non-existent. The characters are boring. They lack all the charm that made the original versions fun and witty. So I'll just kind of get into the characters because, you know, the story doesn't matter and this movie is very character driven. You know, it's Han Solo's solo adventure, and it just doesn't matter. Played by Alden Eldritch, it really shows that Han Solo was the character he is, and he was as engaging and as fun as he is because Harrison Ford is so damn charismatic.
Hey, it's me.
Here, Alden is just so doe-eyed, and he just constantly seems like he's waiting to say his next line. And you know, he's so quippy, and I feel like I didn't laugh a single time in this movie. It's just so boring to watch him. There's no tension. You know he's gonna survive this movie. You know he's not gonna be in danger, and you know this kind of Star Wars, this Disney engine, they're gonna throw everything at you. So you see his blaster, you see the Millennium Falcon, and everything's explained. We see how he meets Chewie. There's kind of some ridiculous scenes with Chewie, and for the first time, Chewie really seems like a 7-foot person in a costume. Their communication together is just kind of silly. Han can speak a little Wookiee, but he can understand all of it, and it's just there's a lot of logic problems with this movie, and I'm not going to get into all these little things that make no sense because it's not worth nitpicking. But when you pay attention, this script is just full of holes and major assumptions, and it just makes the characters seem so weak and one-dimensional. And there are a lot of new characters, but none of them are really that memorable. You know, I saw the movie like 2 hours ago, and I barely remember any of their names. I could say Woody Harrelson. There was an alien that I just looked up was voiced by Jon Favreau, and you can tell he was just marketed as the kid's kind of humor centerpiece. He has a couple of jokes. One of them has a punchline that literally just goes, "That's nuts." So you can just feel the kind of forced inclusion in this movie and the forced humor and the forced tonal separation. You know, there's a lot of that kids humor, and then in the next scene there'll be a pretty explicit sex joke, and it won't even be that funny. It's just the fact that it'll bounce that quickly for no reason. It doesn't serve the story and it doesn't serve a purpose. For an action adventure movie, the action here is extremely flat. There's a sequence at the beginning of the movie where right as the battle's about to gain some personal stakes, as you're about to care about the characters who were involved in the fight and you might be more interested about how they're going to survive or what strategy they use, it cuts to the next scene and you don't even see it, and that kind of happens a lot. And when you do finally see them fight, random things happen and you don't understand why characters are acting the way they do. Stuff just happens and explosions just happen, and you're supposed to go, whoa, and not realize that the script makes no sense. All of the performances are kind of bland. Paul Bettany does an okay job as the central villain. He's pretty charismatic, but when he's being a villain and being mean, he's not that good. Donald Glover's Lando is decent. He's definitely the best part of the movie, but he just kind of has the same delivery for every line. and he's just you can just tell everybody in this movie is doing anybody in this movie who is replaying a character is just doing an impression. And here Donald Glover is clearly doing a Billy D. Williams impression, just like Alden is doing a really bad Harrison Ford impression. And I really just feel like even if this movie makes a lot of money, I hope Disney realizes that focusing on these older characters is not the best move for them moving forward, because it's just this movie's not exciting. They take things like the Kessel Run that are mentioned in the movie for 5 seconds in the original trilogy, and then Ray mentions it, and it pops up here, and it's not exciting, and it doesn't matter. It's just another visual, bland moment. And there are some cool visuals in this movie, but overwhelmingly, it's just whatever. The CGI is not that good. And honestly, what stands out to me is just how much this movie feels like Guardians of the Galaxy. This version of Han Solo feels more like Star-Lord than anything else. And it's just really interesting to think about the fact that Guardians copied some things from Star Wars, and now Star Wars is copying some things from Guardian, and Disney just has this kind of perpetual circle going, and it's not going necessarily in the right direction all the time, and I'm kind of worried. I'm sure there's going to be sequels for this movie, and it does not deserve sequels. I saw this with a friend, and we were trying to think about anything as some kind of saving grace, something that I can say to recommend this movie for you guys. And as long as you see it with Reese's Pieces, maybe you'll have a good time. We both kind of agreed the Reese's Pieces were the best part. But the movie is very bland. The action is very forgettable. The characters are just so nothing matters here. And so I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10 and say if you want to just watch some content, I recommend this Netflix documentary on Bobby Kennedy. Check it out.